this new authority that brought about more than anything else the assassination of Brother Rodney. I want to say that the people of Guyana responded in a Guyanese way, not a Jamaican way. They turned out in thousands, many thousands, and his funeral was the largest political funeral, or the largest funeral ever seen in Guyana. It came after a procession from Buxton Annandale of many thousands into the city, and this procession was led by no other person than Sister Patricia Rodney, who walked on saying, "Fight back, fight back." Now, all races and all ages and both genders were there in heavy presence. Sisters and brothers, there is a tale developing that nothing happened after Walter Rodney passed away or was dispatched. That is very far from the truth. The Working People's Alliance, inspired by all of these resources which he had freely lent, continued its work and expanded. We had up to 42 nuclei, which we called our units, throughout the coast, and we kept on defying the regime in various ways. Signal among them were days of rest, when we were able, by communication with Day Clean and with Brian Rodway's Open Word, which he published for the movement, we were able to communicate and to bring many aspects of public activity to a standstill. We call them days of rest, standstill days, and they were all of them very successful, and the taxi drivers cooperated wonderfully in most parts of the country. Sisters and brothers, there was also the boycott of the 1980 elections. After this, the People's Constitution that spelled out the dictatorship already existing and the paramountcy was introduced. We boycotted it. And in this we had to contend with the People's Progressive Party, which participated and was, of course, diminished as expected. We had something called the Walter Rodney Freedom March in August 1985 from Crabwood Creek in the Essequibo on the Pomeroon, hundreds of miles to the east to Crabwood Creek, which is at the borderline with Suriname, and it took 2 weeks walking, just walking through communities, gathering and dropping off local activists. Some remained, some dropped off, and the ranks were renewed, but a nucleus of us from the center kept on for 2 weeks. The Rodney Freedom Walk. Now, sisters and brothers, I want to tell you the kind of atmosphere. We also, in that period, after the assassination of Walter Rodney, most significantly, held annual Rodney Freedom Festivals in open spaces. What is remarkable about all this change brought about by Walter Rodney is that many of these gatherings, multiracial gatherings of all ages and genders, with street theater, music of the various cultural elements of Guyana, all these things were taking place sometimes in areas of the country that had been torn with ethnic conflict in the 60s. That is where Walter Rodney, in my humble opinion, made the greatest impact. So these things went on. And I want to give you a little of the atmosphere. We had our own song, Working People All, the land has heard your call, too much oppression, crime and starvation, the towers of the strong upholding grievous wrong. Oh, working people, it's time to struggle. Take the fight to freedom into every street, every hill and village where the people meet, for people's power and no dictator. And let me sing the final stanza so that you capture what our aspirations were like and which I think you need even in Birmingham today and in many parts of the world. Revolution on the way, and we are here to stay. Let's join our hands and say, together come what may. Together Portuguese, Chinese and Indian, together African and Amerindian, take the fight for freedom into every place. Struggle for the freedom of the human race. Take the fight for freedom into every place. Struggle for the freedom of the human race. For people's power and no dictator. For people's power and no dictator. It now remains for me to thank you for coming. To offer you my respect and those of the respects of those close to me and to us, and to invite you to cherish the memory of this young man who lost his life historically as a youth, and whose banner has been upheld, and who left, along with Eusi Kwayana. There was Father Dark, Reverend Bernard Dark, whom Walter Rodney called the first martyr of the Guyana Revolution. And then he followed Eusi Kwayana, and then Dublin, and then Walter Rodney. And their widows, Dr. Patricia Rodney, Mrs. Brenda O'Hinney, and their heroic offspring. We wish them all success after this irreparable losses they have suffered. Asante Sana. Shukriya. Thank you very much.